Batman! I hold in my hand right here one of four, I think it's only four of these Batman logo decals that was given to me by my very good friend and today's guest comedian on the 420 report for Hump Day Happy Hour, Mr. Lucky himself, Dobie Maxwell. One of my probably one of my original definitely one of my original mentors in stand-up comedy. Hey Maureen, hey Frank, what's up? Hit me up with some shares and some likes because we want to get a lot of engagement going today. This is a very, very special 420 report because I've got one of the best comedians, what I consider to be one of the best comedians ever in the fucking world, joining me today live for this video blog. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Uncle Russ is here. Robert is here. I'm pouring myself a Blue Moon beer, which is pretty much my breakfast today. I haven't had anything to eat all day. So I'm going to get drunk and we're going to have some fun, man. Upcoming show dates. Let me get those out of the way while the audience builds. I'm going to be in Michigan. 2 sold out shows this weekend. Friday, I'll be in Crystal, Michigan, Friday, March 2nd. My opening act, Dave Welfare, very talented performer. And then Saturday, I go to Alpena, Michigan to play the Eagles Club there with the world-famous mutant queen of comedy, Katrina Brown, for our comedy battle of the sexes. It's 3 hours, almost 3 hours. Sometimes we push 3 hours. Usually it's more like 2.5. But I think that one's already sold out as well. They might have a few tickets left. I don't know. But if you want tickets, hit me up and with a direct message, and I'll see what I can do. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Let's get this fucker started. Go to barcomic.com, grab a copy of my CD. But most importantly, I want to give a big shout out right now to my guest, fellow road dog comedian. He's been around since the early 80s. He's done it all. He's seen it all. Countless media appearances, radio personality. He's on the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson and a published author of the book Monkey in the Middle, which I hold in my hand right here. Dobie Maxwell. How you doing, brother?
Buddy, that's the best intro I've ever gotten. And of all the appearances I've ever made in media, this is my favorite one. And we are on the same vibe. It is amazing when we first met. You know what I'm saying? I don't ever think I'm better than anybody. I don't ever think I know everything. But when, a lot of times I've been around so long that people just ask you, what do you do? How do you do it? I could tell in the first 5 minutes of talking to you that you wanted to know. And that's 90% getting it done is wanting to know how to get it done. So much respect, man. Every time you forge ahead and go to the gig or you get a little feather in your cap, it's well-deserved, man. I'm really happy to see it. I'm not getting paid for saying that. I mean it sincerely.
Thanks, man. Dobie's going to be headlining the final installment of the Grassroots Comedy Tour at Boxcars Pub and Grub in Clinton, Wisconsin. It's in southern Wisconsin, a little small town there. They've got an amazing, what I call a destination bar. It's not necessarily the type of place where it's a big enough town where they got a lot of locals, obviously a lot of local support, but people also come from miles around to go to Boxcars Pub and Grub, and they host what I consider to be one of the best weekday one-nighters in the entire country. Dobie Maxwell is going to be playing there March 7th, already a sold-out crowd for that show. It's been sold out for a month. So, Dobie, what does that tell you?
It tells you that the system, a lot of times Ray Kroc made $1 billion with McDonald's, not for the hamburgers he cooked, but for the system he used to cook them. He got the most out for the best, and millions of people liked it. Same with the Pogorelski. Tim was in show business. He knows what he's doing. He makes it very customer friendly there. And I love working there. Just the vibe. And you guys together are awesome. And if every club in America, I don't care, the improvs right down to one-nighters, would study how that is done, comedy would be in a really good state. We wouldn't be just bitter, pissed-off assholes, working week to week, complaining about everything. They'd say, oh, we're going to Boxcars. People tease me. You're going to do 2 nights in Clinton, Wisconsin? Because it's a benefit the night before, and Tim had to come out. I'm thinking, yeah. And if I could do 3 or 4, I'd do that. It's fun. They laugh just as hard in Clinton, Wisconsin than they do in Las Vegas. You know, I think a lot of entertainers and even people that aren't entertainers, they say, well, you know, you're not working in Vegas, so I never heard of you. Well, where do people, the people who live in Vegas that go to Vegas, they come from the Clinton, Wisconsins and the Ames, Iowas and all over the world. We're just taking it to their town. Now, you figured that out a lot before a lot of people did. That's where a lot of comics aren't working, and you and I are.
Yeah, I agree. You know, imagine that there actually is a system, and if you just keep it fucking simple, it works and will be successful. And it doesn't matter what the economy is like. It doesn't matter whether comedy itself is on the upswing or the downswing. It doesn't, political correctness, none of that shit fucking matters. If you've got a system in place, comedy will be successful. And I think key number one is always have fun. People are paying their ticket money to go out to have a great time. They're not necessarily going there to hear like what these newbies do with their political tirades where they got to indoctrinate everybody into their cause. What I like about you, Dobie, is you just get up there, you rant and rave, and you keep it fun, you keep it exciting all the way through.
Well, I appreciate it, man, and that's come from a lot of years of being out there and know. That's what I want. I mean, I think good entertainers. You are a fan of entertainment, just like I am. I was a fan of people, and a lot of times I got to meet them, whether they were sports heroes or musicians or actors. And sometimes you meet them, and they're just bitter and pissed off and not happy. And it's like, wow, that's a lot different. And then a lot of them are just great, and you like them even more. And people come up to you and say, man, you're so approachable and you're so nice. When I come up to you, yeah, you come up to me and tell me I enjoyed your show. Who doesn't like that? I see somebody acts like pretty much, get away from me. I'm off stage. I want to drink and put my heroin between my toes or whatever I'm going to do. It's like, you know, you like to hang with people. I do too, man. What do you do? Why do I get in comedy school, boys? That's the lifting, day job, and to have fun. And if people want to come up to afterwards and have a drink with you, and even if they tell me an old joke, you know what? I know they mean well, and they wouldn't talk to you if they didn't like you. So it's really a good thing. I know you have bar owners listening on your network, and it's the only way. I mean, if you got just 10 bars in your town, anybody can have a sports bar and show sports videos or music videos. You can have live entertainment at a very affordable price, and it doesn't. You don't have to have 5,000 people in your bar. You know, what does Boxcar seat? 60, 70, whatever it is. Yep. And Tim does it well, sells it out, and everybody can make a living. And that's why I think it's so great. It's not just, wow, you know, he's going to spend all his money. He's making money on drinks. We're making a living wage. Everybody gets a cut. It's beautiful. It
is beautiful. And they do a great job there. It's when you roll in, it's like a little tiny improv or a little tiny funny bone. It's like he made it like a real comedy club, even though it's in the back of a sports bar. So, and shout out to Tim. I think his wife Randy's watching right now. I've got so many people joining in that I can't tell, but I thought I saw her on the feed earlier. So Randy, Tim, if you guys are watching, this is to you guys. We're doing a great job there at Boxcars and Bringing Comedy. They've been doing it for like 5 years. I think they've only had one show that didn't sell out, and it was like 5 seats short of a sellout. So they're doing something right, and it's because of kick-ass quality comedians like you that are rolling through week after week and are giving it their all, even though it is just a small-town bar, which happened to be my favorite places to perform. But that's just me. I'm a weird.
I really love you.
You know.
No, you're the same way. They're not weird, and they love you there. And how many times have I worked at a place that you have recommended, and they won't say, "Oh, we like that show. We saw JerDog. We saw JerDog and Katrina show. Oh, it was so great. They know you by name. And who doesn't? Well, I mean, we all have somewhat of an ego to be in show business, and you're just as big a star in Clinton, Wisconsin as you are in a big city. Why would you not want to do that? It just baffles me how many people, they laugh at me. Look at those towns you work. Yeah, what's the key word? Work.
Right.
For the American money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I figured out that I live in Kenosha, Wisconsin now. I moved up there for several reasons. I have a comedy club up there now, and there's a couple of zanies that are a little bit far. I measured it out. Boxcar is about, I think, 7 miles farther than the farthest zanies. You know what I'm saying? So it's
right.
I sleep in my own bed. I'm home in a little over an hour. It's win-win, brother.
Sleeping in on your own bed. Great segue into the next topic that I want to bring up with you. I posted this on my Facebook feed last week, and a lot of people have the idea that when you do stand-up comedy, it's all just a big vacation. All we do is fuck around all day, and then we get on stage and we only work an hour, 2 hours a week. And it is a lot of fun. So in that regard, because I have so much fun, it's not exactly like, I wouldn't really call it work. It is work, but it's not work. It's fun work. I enjoy the work. What the pain in the ass for me is the travel, and I like going all across this great country. I've seen so many cool things. I've met so many cool people that I normally would not have had the opportunity to do otherwise, just by staying here in central Iowa. However, when I go check into these fucking hotels, man, it's always a complicated process. They never know whether the name is under Jeremy Danley or JerDog or the manager of the venue or the name of the venue or somebody else who I don't know. Then you wake up early in the morning, like even though I've got the do not disturb sign on the door, the housekeeping is still beating on that fucker at 8 a.m. Housekeeping, housekeeping. Dobie, am I the only one? Do you go through that kind of thing too, or am I just having the bad luck?
No, it's not bad luck, man. It's totally constant. They want to get you out of there. If you used to work the clubs, and I know I did for a long time, and I still do once in a while, they get a special room rate. So the comics rooms are way in the back, right by the laundry where they got mariachi music pumping at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you can hear them little laughing and cackling and the whole thing. They treat comedians, it's like if you have to have that, can't spend 10 more bucks and put us in a nice hotel. They don't do that. They treat us like cattle, basically. And the guys that do it for years and years and years do say, well, why aren't you famous? Because I'm too busy trying to get my beauty sleep in, Wat Patuli, Colorado, and I'm trying to get somewhere. It's a process. That's what wears you down. They don't pay you for the shows. They pay you for the travel. And to endure that, you think, well, one day it's going to be better. I won't have to drive 8 hours. I will say normal people drive 30 to 45 minutes, work an 8 to 10 hour shift at a job. Comedians drive 8 to 10 hours to work a 30 to 45 minute shift. It's the same amount of time. It's just ours is 90% is driving and getting there and all the stuff that goes with that. Now I've been doing cruise shifts lately. It's worse. Now you're on an airplane and you're in the middle seat next to some 575-pound eating disorder guy and some Hindu from India who hasn't walked since 1978. It's the same process in the air. Now they got a passport, and they don't like Americans, and you're in Guatemala, and you don't have the right paperwork, so they detain you for an hour and a half in the consulate, and you can't get to the ship, and you might miss the ship, and if you miss the ship, you don't get paid. It's the same pressure. That's what kills you. That's what ages you. And I used to listen to the headliners talk when I started out, and they would bitch and moan and gripe and whimper, and I'm thinking, geez, you're doing what I would sell my soul to do.
Yeah.
Now I'm one of those bitching people because you're down over time, and it's beating you down, and it's like it's normal. It happens, man.
Yeah, I know, man. And that's why I love you, Dobie. I knew all I'd have to do is fire off a rant like that, and it would get you started on a rant as well, which I think is your specialty. Would you say that's your specialty in comedy is the rant?
It really is. I just got going on something, and somebody told me one time, and they meant it in a good way, but it didn't really come out that way. They said, you have gone directly from a beginner to somebody with an attitude of a star, but you haven't had that necessary quality of pesky success to go with it. You talk like you're hot shit, but you haven't had success. Like, that's true. I have never been. I'm a little brother, and I've been bullied my whole life. I just don't have time for bullshit. If you tell me something, I'm just going to tell you. You might kick my ass, but I'm not going down without a fight. You know what I'm saying? I was told it like it is and pointed it out. And if you don't like me and you don't book me, well, tough shit. But it doesn't hide the fact that you're an asshole. And I'm thinking, I've learned to temper it in time, and I've lost a lot of work. And I don't know if it's a smart thing to do, but boy, it sure feels good when you do it.
Yeah, Dobie.
I have a Facebook group. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if anybody wants to get out, we have a Facebook group called the Maxwell Method of Stand-Up Comedy, and we've got almost 3,500 people in it now, like newer comedians, and even people that aren't comedians, just want to kind of see what it's like. And the reason it's been so successful is I have made so many mistakes that when I run out of ideas to post, I just think back a little bit. What stupid thing did I do? Oh, here's one.
Right.
A whole new thread. I've made more than my share of mistakes, but I admit it. And I'm saying I don't think I know everything, but how can I save new people coming up the ranks Okay, you're going to make your own mistakes. Don't make the same stupid ones everybody makes. Make new ones. You put your name on it. I want the JerDog chapter of the things he fucked up. That's what I want.
Oh, for sure, dude. In fact, I'm actually working on that book myself, The Bar Comic, the book, and I'm inspired by you. And one of the chapters of that is going to be, my top 3 or my top 5 or my top 10 biggest fuck ups. If I can think of enough to tell good stories, which we've all fucked up throughout our career. I don't think that you're going to make progress in comedy unless you fuck up. And I think that's actually and this is me just talking out of my ass, but I think that is what keeps a lot of newbies from progressing is they don't take the risk to fuck up. You know what I mean? They don't take it to the next level where they might fall flat on their face and look like a complete asshole and then have that learning experience to be able to go back again, step up to the plate again, and then that time hit a home run because they already know how to strike out.
Excellent point. And I think one thing that newbies need to know, you need a mentor. I used to beg comics, can I take you out for a cheeseburger? I don't have a lot of money. I'll eat crackers and I'll buy you a cheeseburger if you'll just sit with me for an hour and talk about the business and I can learn something that'll make me, $100 later. And you've always been that way too. It's like doing these audios and videos and the seminars and stuff that we tried to do just because you learn too. I have a group because I learn from it as well, and you're always growing and you're always learning. And I think a lot of newbies come along and says, well, I'm just going to, I'll do open mics for 6 weeks, and then I'll move to Vegas, and then I'll move to LA, and I'll get a 12-picture deal.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. I've been at this 30 years, and I haven't said, wait a minute, you got to have someone that can see the bigger picture for you. That's why to put out that book, do it. And even bar owners, I'm going to have the best bar, and I'm going to have why are you struggling with 10 other bars in your town? Because nothing is as easy as it looks. It's always slower and more expensive than you think. But I look at boxcars as an ultimate example. I'm not blowing smoke up their ass. I happen to like these people. I'm not getting it out of it. They do it right. You don't think Tim and Randy work their ass off? Of course they do.
Hell yeah.
If there was 5 bars around it, I would go there because I like them. I'll pay full price for my drinks and food because I like them. I'm going to buy it anyway. And it's building a relationship with the customers. Exactly what you're doing with your customers as a comedian. Exactly what I'm doing. We tend to work different markets, but it's the same. It's a customer-based relationship.
Yeah, completely. In fact, you're talking about, learning and being willing to learn. That's one of the things that I first knew about you. We had never worked together before. And this is back in the day when they had they didn't have Facebook, but they had comedy forums online where you could sign up. And all I knew about this Dobie Maxwell is he would come onto these comedy forums and he always had good advice. And it was something that I was like, oh shit. And then I learned that you taught comedy classes at Zany's. I want to talk about that in just a little bit. But I remember working with you at a place called the Tap Room all the way up in Duluth, Minnesota. We did a one-nighter there. It was like a Tuesday night, I think it was.
I remember.
And I said, and I was just starting out, and I knew Dobie. He's a teacher of comedy. I gave you my notebook. And I said, dude, will you watch my act while I'm on stage for the next 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it was, and will you just give me notes? Because, I want to know how to improve. Nobody out there really tells you how to do that. You got to kind of figure it out on your own. Or I would sometimes get this weird, shady advice from club owners, whatever. But I gave you my notebook. I said, will you give me notes? And look at this. I still have, Dobie, you can't see them, but I'm showing these on the video right now.
I'm flattered.
I still have the notes. I still have the fucking notes. And I used all of these. Top 10 or top 5 inventions by pot smokers. Great premise. Add more. Why are you JerDog? Come up with a legend. Lots of potential. I did that. I did the top 5 inventions by pot smoker. Nickname for your kid. Pup. I go by that. I started calling him Jer Pup. Talk more about Iowa. I started talking more about Iowa. In fact, I've got a whole chunk now just about being from Iowa. Talk more about your marriage.
Beautiful.
Doing that. Ultimately, that advice right there, talk more about your marriage, is ultimately what led to me doing the He Said, She Said comedy show with Katrina Brown, which we'll be doing for a sold-out crowd this Saturday night in Alpena, Michigan at the Eagles Club. And, why do you wear the bandana? I used to wear a bandana, now I wear a ball cap that is like make up a legend. Maybe you can sell them. So you're giving me great advice, stuff that I could make fucking money with. Like it, make it like your bat utility belt. Love the retard monkey voice, So I still kept the fucking notes because that was gold to me, dude. To have someone like you when I was very first starting out on the road, and I didn't know anything, man. I knew how to talk shit on a microphone. That was pretty much it. But as far as like constructing material and structuring an act and making it cohesive and translatable to a crowd anywhere and everywhere I went, I didn't know what I was doing, man. But it was things like this. It was someone like you that helping me out that I had so much appreciation for that I kept the fucking notes, dude. So, right here in front of God and everybody, I just want to say that.
Oh, thank you very much, buddy. And I think, in a situation like this, we are not normal in that we could not handle a 40-hour-a-week job. There's nothing wrong with people that work at Jiffy Lube or Denny's or wherever you work. You got to make a living and feed your family. But some people they don't have that in them, and we are that way. And I think I always tell people, if you want to get into comedy, you think it's easy. Well, you only work an hour a night. Yeah? You want easier? Manage a Taco Bell. There's less work in managing a Taco Bell than there is to be a comedian. Ask Katrina Brown. Ask JerDog. Ask people who have children and spouses, and you're gone for days at that week of time. You don't want to drive 7 hours, but you got that gig there. You want to play ball with your kid or see their graduation. And there's a lot of sacrifice that goes with this business. And yes, there are fun parts of it that are probably more dynamic than working at Kmart or something like that. And there's no right or wrong, but if you're going to do this business, I really think it's got to be that whole nation. It takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a community to be a comedian. I remember everybody that goes out, and you don't have enough time. I remember there's one guy that we sat down one time, and I told him he didn't have the time he thought he did, and he got a little bit mad at me. It's like, okay, maybe he's still mad at me, but I was right with what I said. And there was a guy that told me that, too, and I thought I was hot shit. I'm coming up the ranks. He goes, well, you're not ready yet. And looking back at it, I was a little bit hurt that day, but he was totally right when he said it. I'm not going to name names. But the guy went on to be in Hollywood to be a huge producer, and we laughed about it years lawer. I said, well, he said, I saw your head snap back when I told you that. I didn't say you weren't funny. I didn't say you weren't talented, but I just said, as somebody that's ready, you weren't there yet. Right. That's the thing. It always takes longer. It's always harder. But when you are there, I really think there's an obligation to reach back and help. And I'm not saying everybody does that, but to me, it's the right thing to do. You ask me nicely. You've always been a nice guy, but hey, buddy, would you mind? I got to be there anyway. I got to go on stage after you. I'm in the club already, having a Pepsi. Would you take some notes? Well, of course. I don't remember doing that until you asked me. I would do that for anybody. You're the only one that asked me. I've had hundreds of guys in front of me I would have done the same thing for them. And even if I had one idea in there that would have helped you, it would have been worth it.
Yeah, you gave me 10.
Anyway. Well, there you go. And I would everybody else that too. But kudos to you for asking. I can tell you how to start, man. So it's good. Good. I'm glad you get famous and let me drive you with me. That's all I'm asking.
You're a teacher of comedy. Did you have two questions here? Number one, I'll ask them both and then I'll just let you go off. What got you into teaching comedy? Number one, you already explained it a little bit, but what actually inspired you to make the move to officially do it? Number two, when you were in your come up years, did you take any comedy classes? Did you have a comedy teacher? And who was it, or is it? That's pretty much it.
Okay, I'll take.
Did you have a teacher of comedy, and what inspired you to become one?
I had a couple of mentors. There was a guy named C. Cardell Willis, a gentleman, happened to be a black gentleman who worked on the Chitlin circuit with Richard Pryor and Dick Gregory, and he was one of the lower guys on that. And he knew early he didn't have to be a full-time comedian. Nice. He was from Mississippi, I believe, and he moved to Indianapolis, and then he got a job in Milwaukee, which is my hometown. And he decided he wanted to be a family man, and he had a wife and kids, but he still wanted to dabble in comedy. And he ran an open mic, which is the only comedy in the entire state of Wisconsin at the time. This is 1983. And he was probably maybe early to mid-50s at the time. And all the comedians that came through Milwaukee had the Monday night open mic, and Cardell Willis would be the MC. And he sat me down about 6 months into it and said, "Kid, you're the only one in this town that's got any chance. I'm going to mentor you, and I want you to take this way farther than I did." He goes, "It's a cruel business, and it's the chances of anybody making it just like a ball player. It's very, very low chances, but I think you got a spark." And he was just so nice to me. And before I went on the road the first time, he took me out for a Chinese lunch, Chinese food. He gave me a card, a congratulations card, and there was $25 in there. He said, "There's some emergency money for you." He told me how to act on the road and where to keep your money. And
Very cool.
if you lose your money, you have a place to stay and go to the YMCA and stuff like that. And it was a little bit dated, you know. It was 20 years. I was starting out in the 80s, and this was from like the 50s and 60s. But I never forgot the kindness that was there. He was so nice. And when I got out on the road, there was a guy named Gary Kern, who was Jeff Fox really opened for Gary Kern way back there. And Gary Kern had a heart attack at age 36. I was about 20, 21 at the time, and at 36 seemed ancient. You know, now looking back at it, God, was he young? He had a heart attack at night. He was a great mentor, and he came up to me. I was the MC, and he's just a short little dude, and he was kind of like, you know, short-tempered off stage. And he walked up to me. I'll never forget. He goes, "MCs are whiny little fucks who burn premises, and I hate every one of them." And he turns around and he walks away. I was like, "Geez, what do I say?" And he comes back 5 minutes later. "You're a whiny little fuck that I like. How would you like to do 6 weeks on the road with me?" And it's, oh yeah, I'd love to do that kind of stuff. And it was kind of like tough love, you know.
Right.
We're out there, and he would sit with me after the show every night. This is what you did right. This is what you could do better. This is how to budget your money when you're on the road. This is what not to do. Don't go to the casino if there is one. There wasn't a whole lot of that, but you'll say it if you're a drinker, but watch that. Cocaine is a bad thing. I don't happen to do any of those things, but he did. He just said, if you're going to do it after the show. Never do it before the show. Things like that. He didn't judge, but he was a mentor. And at different times as we come up, it's not always the same person, but there's an old Buddhist thing. I think when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I had this thing, and I had a car accident. I'll make this short. I had a car accident. I slipped over a convertible in 1993, and I broke my sternum. I broke my jaw. My jaw was wired shut. I wasn't able to go on it for 6 months. And it was in the Milwaukee paper. Local comedian almost dies in car accident, blah, blah, blah. So a community college calls me up and said, "Hey, we're going to be laid up for a while. Would you like to teach a class in stand-up comedy? People want to know what it's like." I said, "Well, you can't really teach anybody to be funny. You either are or you aren't." And they said, "We'll be willing to pay you a few bucks." And I said, "Tuesday at 7 o'clock, we're going to have a comedy class." I needed money, man. I was out of cash. I don't have any insurance at the time. I still don't have any now. I was eating food out of a shelter. So I said, okay, if I was starting out again, I was about 10 years in at the time, what would I teach somebody if I was starting out right now? And I put some class together. I thought it was people that wanted to be a comedian like I did.
Right.
People that came out to the class, we had 22 in our first class. They were people from all walks of life. We had a pharmacist, we had a minister, we had a lawyer, we had a housewife, we had a guy that was just basically a college-age dude who turned out to be Tom Clark, who's a headliner now, lives in L.A., has had several TV appearances, and now he teaches his own classes in L.A. I could tell in the first 5 minutes of class that kid had something. And it was just a great way to be like a Little League coach. You know what I'm saying? I met so many nice people from all over and in all walks of life. And the reason I do it is because it keeps me closer to the fundamentals. I have to talk in terms that a beginner can understand. It keeps my own act simple. And people say, "Man, you make it look so easy up there." Yeah. I got 30 plus years on stage. Yeah, I know what to do now. I sucked for a long time. Yeah. Any comic that tells you they didn't suck at the beginning is lying to you. Yeah. It's not, I'm not saying I was great, and I still have shows where I don't think I'm great. God, you were really good. Well, I'm glad you like it, but I know about 30 things that I messed up that I need improvement on. Yeah. And that's the thing that keeps everybody going. You never arrive. You're never there. You're always growing and getting better and doing broadcasts like this to hopefully spark somebody else. And you never know down the road, okay, no offense. You were some kid that was coming up the ranks. I didn't know if I'd ever see you again. Now we've become friends. We've helped each other out. We've gotten each other work. It's been a beneficial relationship. So all that cost me to get started was 20 minutes of time that I was sitting there anyway, writing down information that I didn't have to do any study work with. I won big time, buddy. I did.
The teacher always learns more than the student.
I think that's right. I do. I agree with that.
Yeah. And so, I try to take on mentees every once in a while. Like we've got one of my worst opening act watching right now. Calls himself the Bud Man from Janesville, Wisconsin. Shout out to Bud Man. He's hitting us up with a bunch of likes right now. But this dude, he got on stage. He was doing like a Rocky impression. I think he had some good material. He has something there. There was something there that made him watchable, but just needed that little bit of refinement. And then later on, sat there broadcasting my show live on Facebook. So I'm like, I don't want to give all the material away over the video. So it forced me to just completely improvise a set for 90 minutes straight. I did completely off, not literally 100%. There was some bits that I threw in there, that tied into what I was already talking about here and there. But for the most part, it was 90 minutes of pure off-the-top improv working the crowd. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have people back in the day telling me where I fucked up, what I needed to do better. If I didn't have the tough love like you talked about, a lot of times going to these small town, quote unquote dive bars, it's like going to comedy boot camp. And if you don't walk away with a fucking learning lesson after some of these gigs, you're not paying attention. And so by doing all those bar gigs over and over and over and over again for many, many years, that's what put me in the position to be able to, as needed, get on stage and do 90 minutes of just straight off the cuff improv. Because I've already got the style down. I've got the stage presence. I'm not afraid to be in front of the crowd. I know how to structure a joke. In fact, I can structure a joke because of your help, Dobie Maxwell.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. That's really true. I never knew how to really write a joke. I learned a lot doing the Comedy Wild West show back in the day about how not to use the same words in the setup that you do in the punchline, and how to, the rule of threes and things like this, and comedy of contradictions and bait and switch and all these, tools that we all use as comedians. But if it weren't for practicing that shit for 20 fucking years, there's no way I'd be able to get on stage and just abandon all my material and be able to kill it for 90 minutes straight just off of attitude alone. So, I got to give you a lot of props for that, because you are one of my original mentors in stand-up comedy.
Well, I totally appreciate it. And it's a good thing about that is, okay, if I planted a seed in you, think of all the people that you work with, and there are a lot, and they'll probably never meet me. Or maybe if I die in a fiery car wreck or whatever the deal is, it's like, okay, well, I've heard the guy's name, but the practice, C. Cardell Willis, Gary Kern, Kyle Nape, just naming names that might not be familiar to you or to anybody listening. These are people that truly mentored me in many ways as I came up. Danny Stortz, one of the great joke writers, and he lives in Tennessee right now. He does cruise ships once in a while. He kind of does religious type acts, and he's a wonderful guy, but that's where he is chosen. And so many people, they make the mistake, well, if you're not on TV, it used to be the Johnny Carson show, right, with maybe, Jay Leno or David Letterman, but now things are so fragmented. Lenny Bruce said years ago in the 50s, all I want is 100,000 people to like what I do. The rest of the world can go fuck itself. Well, that really is, it's a lot more now than if I was it 10,000, 20,000. If you get that many on YouTube or get your own channel and you can make a living. I mean, look about it. Say Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois. If those are the only places that JerDog and Dobie Maxwell could work, could we still be comedians? Hell yes, and we can make $100,000 a year doing it. Because all you need is, 100, 200 people in all towns that come out, and you can run in $10, $15, $20 of a normal cover charge. You can make a really nice living at that. And I think just because you're not world famous, well, get your ego out of it. I'm in comedy to work. I lived in L.A. and I ran out of money. And so many people come up to that position and say, okay, do I stay in L.A. and wait tables and work at a Jiffy Lube, hoping that Steven Spielberg's limo is going to break down at 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and I'm on at the Comedy Store, and they're going to like 5 minutes left? Or are you going to move back to where the gigs are and be a comedian? And we got quick time for one quick story. I know we're going long here, buddy, but you always get me going on these good stories. There's one quick story I think people listening need to hear. And there was a guy I worked with when I was Wichita, somewhere in Kansas, Omaha, somewhere out there. And it was a French restaurant. And I don't really go to French restaurants. And we're eating there after the show. And it's like the best food I ever ate in my life. And the owner's there, and we're hanging out. The condoms went there every week, and he had him in there, and he was paying, give him some meal and stuff. And I said, no offense, buddy, why do you live here? He goes, because I went to the best cooking school, whatever it was, in New York. And he goes, I make a nice sauce. And like there's 1,000 people in my school made a nice sauce. If I would have stayed in New York and try to get a restaurant opening there, I'd be peeling potatoes until I'm 65 years old. He goes, I moved here. I married the prettiest girl in town. I got a great restaurant. Everybody comes to see me. I'm a celebrity in town. I make more money than I can spend. And I got a big house in the nicest neighborhood, and I drive a great car. What's wrong with that? And I said, not one motherfucking thing. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I totally do.
Yeah, I work in boxcars in Clinton, Wisconsin, and people are laughing at me. In the meantime, I consider Tim and Randy and everybody their friends. I'm going to have a great meal. I'm going to have a great time. They like me so much, they booked the day before at a fundraiser because they think I'm a nice guy. I'm going to get 2 days in a row, and that's pretty damn cool. And I'm thrilled to get it, and I'm making money on a Tuesday and a Wednesday when most comics are peeling potatoes or trying to sell sperm, hair, whatever they can sell.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for that, you know. Do what you can where you are. I don't know whose quote that's attributed to, but it's so true. You know, there's plenty of people that need to laugh in Iowa and Wisconsin and Minnesota and everywhere. No matter where you are, do it. If you're going to set up shop somewhere, be the best you can in that area.
Right.
What's wrong with people out there? Don't get that Hollywood, you know, dream in your head. It's going to be all good out there. It's going to be, say if you got a little bar somewhere, well, I'd really like to have the Copacabana. Well, you got boxcars. Make that gas. If you can run a bar like Tim and Randy do, you're going to make money no matter where you are. You are.
Yeah.
And people are going to love your place.
It's okay to be a big fish in a small pond.
What's that?
I said it's okay to be a big fish in a small pond.
What's wrong with that? You're eating. You're doing what you want to do. You're having fun. I don't see anything wrong with that. There's 6 billion people in the world. You're not, no matter who you are, even if you're the most famous comedian in the world, you are not going to be known by 1% of the people on the planet. But that alone should keep you humble. I don't care if you're Kevin Hart or name any big name you can. But the entire world, 1% of the population is not going to know who you are.
Yep, for sure. My Uncle Russ has got a question. I think it's a really good question. My Uncle Russ, just for those of you watching, and Dobie, for your benefit as well, he is probably my actual real inspiration in comedy, the funniest fucking guy I know who doesn't do comedy, never did comedy, just naturally funny guy, probably where I got it, probably where I got my shit-talking talent. So 2 questions, Dobie. I'm going to ask his question, I'm going to ask a question related to it. Number one, what he's chiming in with on the comments on the Facebook video is, do you have to become a different person when you get on stage? I've got my answer, but I'd like to hear yours first.
Dennis Miller had a comment about that, which I really thought was great when he was asked a similar question. He said, basically, your character, your persona on stage is a caricature of you. It's basically you pumped up times 10.
Right.
So you look at someone who draws a caricature of you, it's based on you, but it's twisted and it's tweaked, and you know you make silly putty. You make a picture of yourself, it's not funny. When you make the ears big and the eyes bug out and you tweak it, that's what makes it funny. I think there are certain parts of us all, and the art of comedy is picking out those parts, usually shortcomings or faults, and you stress them. That's where the funny is. But I think it has to be based in reality, or it won't sell. You know, people trying to be this backed out character that they're totally not. It's contrived. If it's based in there's deep roots. You know, it's you, and you don't have to think about it because it's in there already.
Exactly, and then it's easy to be unique. It's easy to be original. If you just get on, like I always say this, just get on stage. It's weird to say because it's a cliche, but I say get on, just be yourself, but be the funniest version of you. Like you're already a funny guy. Don't try to figure out what's funny. Just get up there and be you being funny, but you got to be able to do it at 8 o'clock at night. You got to be able to do it at 9 o'clock at night. It's exactly like you said. I do an exaggerated version of myself in order to get to the punchline. What's that?
Let's look at this for just real quick, JerDog. Just compare you and me just real quickly as comedians, our raw materials going into it, okay?
Right.
I've never smoked a joint in my life. I'm not a father. I'm not a husband, okay? I really have had bad luck experiences my whole life. I was raised, my dad really was a biker, and my grandparents raised, okay? Those are 2 different things. It's like, okay, you're baking a cherry pie, I'm baking a chocolate cake. They're 2 different products. Like, I can't do the bits about the subjects that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You can't do the ones that I can. So if you're to yourself, your own product will come out, and it won't clash. You know, Katrina Brown, just because I happen to really like her on stage and off. I think she's got balls, and I mean that in a good way. You know what I'm saying? She does not take shit. And I think a lot of people, you know, she's not the dainty little Miss Priss, and that's one of the really things I like about her. You 2 together, that show that you guys came up with, that's a powerhouse. There are millions of people that are married to someone that they scream and holler and all, but you guys got a gold mine with that. You'll be selling out arenas if you keep that thing going. I don't have that. I chose not to be married just because I never wanted to have a wife, especially kids, because it's shitty business, because my old man was a prick, and I know what it was like to not be around. I don't want kids now that I had, 25 years ago saying, you were never there for me, you're an asshole and father. I couldn't live with that. You know what I'm saying? And every woman I married, well, you got a good comedy. When I was at water, I finally got married. I wanted to quit comedy. Nope, sorry. That's what I was when you met me. That's who it is. So my point is, you and I have different degrees. We're in the same business. But some people worry about, well, gee, if JerDog gets famous, if he gets bookings, if he taking away from my. Oh,
there's room for everybody.
When someone else makes it big, don't. They're not Amy Schumer. When people say, "Oh, I hate her. She's not funny." Amy Schumer's customers are not yours, and they're not mine.
Correct.
You should be happy because she's bringing comedy into the mainstream. I really think, and it sounds like, you're all this, Zen Buddhism. There's no reason to cut other people down. It's hard enough to do your own thing.
Yep.
I see so many bar owners, that guy over there is doing this, and he's having. Don't worry about your bar. Boxcars worries about boxcars, and they're sold out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's simple. Simple is not easy. Worry about your own shit.
Right.
There'll be no time to worry about anybody else.
No, I agree.
Hey, that guy's making $1 million. Good for you. I got to worry about my shit. I got to pay my rent next month. I got bills to pay.
Every ounce of energy you're putting into criticizing somebody else or worried about what somebody else has going on, that's just taking time out of your day, out of your mental capacities in order to further your own career. And especially if it's just going to be negative criticism thrown out there. It's like, don't be a hater. You know what I mean? Like these guys have the time, they're putting out all this negative energy, which is it kind of goes with the territory of being a comedian. We're all fucked up in some way, shape, or form. We all called out this, like you said, we all call out the bullshit that we see in the world. But I see a lot of comedians, they do exactly what you talk about, where they think that if somebody else is successful, that somehow that knocks them down a peg. It's not true. There's room for all of us.
And that's why I think we need a mentor to say, look, Junior, I know you want to think that way, but that's not the right way of thinking.
Right.
Let's write 10 jokes this week. Give me 10 funny jokes. Well, I've got an hour and a half of material. I've seen you verbally fart for an hour and a half. I don't see material up there. Let me see some jokes. And I really think you're almost very simple about that. The longer I'm in it, the more I know I don't know, and the more I know, the harder I have to work. I can fake it now because I've got 30 years of experience. It sure doesn't mean I have the whole thing figured out, and I'll never claim to that. But I really think the smartest ones and the bigger the act I've ever met, and the hardest workers, they're always the humblest. They'll always take time to talk to you. And if you say the right things, hey, I watched your show, and that joke you do, I really like that tagline you put on the end. That took some effort to say that, and you say the right questions. And I'm telling you, man, the biggest, I don't care who you get there. You say something like that, you get 30 seconds, you'll get their undivided attention, man, and they'll talk to you about comedy because it shows that you give a shit and you know what's going on.
Yep, correct. That's pretty much been my experience as well. I couldn't have said it better myself. Then that's why you're Dobie Maxwell, one of my original mentors in stand-up comedy. I'm so inspired by you, dude. I'm not just talking shit. I'm not just saying that. I really am. And one of the things that I'm most inspired about right now is actually writing my own book, putting my experiences together, being a traveling troubadour, bar comic for the last 20 years, talking about the boot camp concept that I was talking about earlier on this video, and how all of that training collectively helped me put together my 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours to where I can get on stage now and pretty much just blast out 90 minutes of improv and working the crowd. What inspired you to write Monkey in the Middle? And would you recommend that every comedian write a book?
Okay, number one, I'll answer your second question first. Yes, I think every comedian should write a book. Does that mean I think you're going to get it made into a movie and you're going to make $1 million with it? No. I think the great part about it is one of the hardest things that anybody can do. It took me more than 20 years to finish mine because you think, oh, I got a book in me. It's like the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise, well, yeah, I can do that, but the turtle is constantly plowing at it. And I did a few chapters and I let it sit for 5 years. I didn't do it. I finally got a guy that was I was a mentor to him in his magic act. He was actually being at Marquette University. He was in his 70s. And he said, look, you help me with my magic act. You help me put jokes in it. I'm going to help you with your book. We're going to get this fucker done. And we're going to get it done in 6 months. Because I've got 30 books on college grant seeking, which I didn't know he did. He has raised like $3 billion all over the world. And he's got these books on. Because I know something or two about publishing a book. You're going to send me a chapter, and I'm going to edit it. And while I'm editing it, you're going to work the second chapter. And we're going to get it done in 6 months. And don't give me one chapter and then leave and fart around anymore. And I like football. I didn't watch an entire football NFL game for the year. I think it was 2015. I did the whole entire season. I would get up at 9 o'clock in the morning. I would work on the book until 10 o'clock at night. And the first probably week, first hour, I'll turn on the TV and catch the scores. Wait a minute, I can watch football anytime. The NFL's got their billion. I don't. I sat down and I focused and I cranked it out.
Yeah.
I think the same thing. As you as a comedian, write your book. You got great stories. I look at you now as, okay, you're ready to start. You got your 20 years in. You got some stories. Now, from this day forward, think of the great stories that you're going to have, and you're going to have some hecklers, and you're going to have some car breakdown stories and all the other stuff. Think of that now as this is the beginning of your book. That was the preface, the prelude before that. Now you're starting it out. In every comic, you're going to have stories. Write the book. Look inside. I reunited with my siblings. I haven't talked to my sister in 20 years and my half-brother in 30. Now we spend holidays with each other. We were the closeness of the family we never had as kids. That, to me, is the most amazing accomplishment. There's a whole book in that alone. And we are dead to cans. And the one thing I've seen, every comedian I've ever said, people might play stupid on stage. I have never met a stupid comedian. I've met thousands of comedians.
Yeah.
There is an intelligence in there. We see the bullshit of the world, and we are intelligent enough to be able to put a twist on it and make it funny. There's a very, very elite class of people that are stand-up comics, and they're not dumb people, and they have a high amount of respect. A lot of us are angry. A lot of us are depressed.
Yep.
A lot of us don't know what to do with our dysfunction. But if we can figure it out, it took me 30 years to get into it, and it took 6 months to finish that book. Now people read that book, oh, my God, I'm that way, too. You really helped it. I'm going to inspire them to write my own book. Yes, good. I sold a few copies, but I don't care if I sell another copy. That alone, the self-esteem it took to finish it, to finish a product, we all start stuff. Most of us have ADD or ADHD or EIEIO or whatever the fuck the initials they attach to it. But our brains are like a blender with the top off, going in 800 different directions. I'm the first one to say I'm like that, but focusing on something, finishing on something. It takes the power and the energy, and it makes our act better. It makes our life off stage better. We all put out our vibe. I really, truly believe that. There's a time when you, I know we're way over time here, and we don't want to stop you at any time. Go ahead.
Fine. You're,
a lot of times,
throwing out gold.
I've never, what's that?
I said you're throwing out gold.
Okay, we're in a hotel. I'm sure you had this happen too. You talk to the other comedian, you heard his or her name. They say, hey, I'll meet you in the lobby. Let's ride to the club together. And you go down in the lobby, and there's 40 people, and you walk right up to the comedian. Hey, let's go. You just know who the comedian is.
Yep.
You can tell. 40, 50 people in a room, okay, that's the one right there. And you don't even have to ask. And it happens 10 times out of 10. I've never not had it happen. Yeah, I just walk up to the guy, okay, you're the comedian, let's go, yeah. And there's a vibe. And I think as we get older and our vibe changes and it mellows, most of us are angry about something that happened. My anger is just leaking out like a goldfish at the carnival when that little pinhole in the water. People say, God, you were pretty scary before. Now you're a teddy bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the bullshit. I try to be nice. I go out of my way to be nice. And sometimes some people still piss me off, and there's some people that say, God, he's such an asshole. Don't believe anything he says. But for every one person that hates me, there's 100 person that say, God, that guy really helped me. He's gone out of his way to help me out. All you can do is what you do. You're going to fuck up at the start. Everybody fucks up. What do you do to make up for that? That's the key to life. It really is.
Nice. What I like about your
my wisdom is out.
Well, what I like about your book, dude, versus a lot of comedians' books that I picked up over the years, a lot of times they just put their material in written form. They don't really tell about their life. They don't really have crazy stories. This book, what is it? It's like 300 some pages. They're almost 400 pages. This thing's almost 400 fucking pages long. It's got great stories at the beginning about your upbringing in Milwaukee. It's got that great story about you being the innocent, unbeknownst to you, getaway driver for your friend, the bank robber. Yeah. And then you juxtapose all of that with your trials and tribulations of coming up in comedy. It's a great fucking book, man. I really like it. And here's something else I like about it. As I go through it, every chapter starts off with like an inspirational quote. And that's not something you see very much coming from comedians. It's usually, like you said, they're bitter, they're angry, they're pissed off about this, that, or the other thing. But you've got that in here. You've got your anger edge, but there's also like a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of learning that's involved as well. It's not just your jokes in a book form. That's what I really like the most about it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. That's one of the reasons I think everybody, including you, should write something. Because if you make it a little bit about yourself, here's what I'm getting now. I know Crystal, Michigan, you're going to be there, and you just finally have to be there in June. Black in the room. And here's some good things that happened with it. Number one, I had never been there before. I put it out I said, hey, any comedians in the Midwest, I'd like to take some, be a mentor a little bit. You want to ride along? I'll buy you dinner. You do 10 or 15 minutes on stage. I've never been in this room before. I have no idea what to expect. But this is, I don't know if I'm in front of other comedians. This is a real room. And I had two guys that came along, and we had a blast, and I got to know those guys. We had some mentor. And after that, I probably sold about, I don't know, 10, 12 books in a room that size. It was really, really good. But what I'm getting everywhere now is, I don't know who the fuck you are. My friend went to your comedy show and bought your book and read it and gave it to me and made me read it. And I couldn't put it down, man. Yeah, now I'm a fan. Now I want to come and see you. So as you do that, it's a business card which goes through and people buy it once and they pass it around to 20 people, but they know the intimate details about you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They come out to see you, and I think, do what you're doing. I love your newsletter. I love this 420 report that you do every day. Anything that I can do, but if this is what I started from that page of notes, I am a very proud comedy father, buddy. You are doing it right, brother. I'm proud of you.
Well, thanks, man. And I really appreciate you doing this. We said we'd talk for about 20 minutes. This is what I usually do for these live video blogs, the 420 report. I usually just go on a rant for about 20 minutes, sounding like a pompous ass. But it's so good to have guys like you. Lou Deck was on about a month ago. I try to bring all the different comedians on. Yeah, and it's so awesome to have all you guys join in and just talk shop on these Wednesday afternoons. It's something that I look forward to the very most during my week. We said we just do 20 minutes or so. You've been on for almost an hour, man. So I really appreciate it. Guys, if you're in the southern Wisconsin area, you need to get out to Boxcars Pub and Grub. Actually, it doesn't even matter. Place is fucking sold out anyway. I don't know if they've got tickets left for the benefit show or not, but if you've ever get a chance to see Mr. Lucky Dobie Maxwell live, I highly, highly recommend it. He's going to be doing Boxcars Pub and Grub in Clinton, Wisconsin, Wednesday, March 7th. He's going to be doing the Uptown Bar and Cafe, also part of the Grassroots Comedy Tour later on this summer. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys up there in Michigan area, make sure you get your ass to Crystal, Michigan, to the Uptown Bar and Cafe. I will let you know when Dobie's going to be there this summer. And he's also running his own comedy club in Kenosha. Dobie, you want to talk about that just a little bit before we wrap things up?
Kenosha Comedy Club, we're just kind of getting up and running. It's in the Wyndham Hotel downtown. Our website is on the way. It's going to be fun. I'm having Nathan Allen there. I'll have you there when I can.
Anytime, man. You still there? Did we lose you? It's getting weird. All right. Anyway, Dobie Maxwell, author of Monkey in the Middle, one of my original mentors in stand-up comedy. He gave me a lot of notes. When I first started working with him, I said, Dobie, will you watch my act? I was opening up for him. Had never met the guy before ever. And I still have the notes right here. And it's all information and advice that I used. It's all ideas that he gave me that I actually incorporated into my act. So once again, shout out Dobie Maxwell. I think his cell phone cut out or something, but we've gone way, way, way past the usual amount of time. So thank you very much, Dobie, for being on with me today. My live video blog, the 420 Report. Thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow, Thursday. I've got something a little bit different I'll be doing, so you'll definitely want to check that out. What else can I tell you? Come out and see us this Friday and Saturday night. Michigan peeps, be at the Uptown Bar and Cafe. I think there might be a few tickets left. I'm not sure. Last I heard, they was sold out. And then I head to Alpena, Michigan, to the Eagles Club there to co-star with Katrina Brown in the He Said, She Said comedy show. Like I said, be back here tomorrow with the 420 Report, 4:20 p.m. or as close as possible. In the meantime, dog bless America.